Has your keyboard got too many keys? Maybe. Teach me, Daddy.
So in a previous video, I mentioned my 16 key layout, and a lot of you are really interested in that and what kind of things I'm doing to pull that off. So in this video, I'm going to do a deep dive and look at that layout in detail, and hopefully it'll give you some ideas. And you may not want to go that far. And in fact, I'm not quite sure if I'm going to stick with this. And I'll mention this in the video, but there's a couple of sort of things that I think another thumb key or two thumb keys might be really beneficial. So I'm going to explore that in this video too, whether this is the point that's too far or, obviously I don't think there's any point in going any further. I don't think I'm going to go any further. I'm only going to go back now. But it's amazing to have got this far, and obviously the benefit, reducing all that finger movement is fantastic. I'm really hardly moving my fingers now, and that's amazing.
I'm actually really interested in this. Okay, I actually am really interested in this. This is kind of exciting. You know what I mean? Like, this is very, very exciting. I kind of want to understand this because there is something that's very appealing. If you could somehow just have these power fingers in like 9 keys, like 18 keys, right? 18 keys and then like 2 thumbs on each side, maybe 3 thumbs on each side. I think it's kind of exciting. I think there's something exciting.
That's what I've really wanted to try and get to with this keyboard journey. So the first of my kind of small layouts was
I do like Pinky
layout, and that was really kind of intended for the Gogoplex. Yep. I actually experimented with it on the Moonlander and the Planck, and then put it onto the Gogoplex, and that was great fun. The first time I sort of really created that layout where you're only moving 1 key from each of your home positions, including with the thumbs. So you've got 1 key each side of your home thumb as well, and that was fantastic. So it gave me a real taste of what it's like.
I've tried doing these kind of things where you so real talk. So like the pistol grip is what they kind of call, right? This is like your neutral you're like, everyone has like a neutral hand positioning where if you just like held it out without trying, you'd be at some sort of angle. And this is supposed to be like your most optimal way to do it, because you're not doing this, right? It's supposed to be really good for you. But man, I don't know about this. It seems a little too erect, okay?
Like to have a small layout.
You're
and then, of course, I had the
head.
issue with
Exactly.
the USB port and the Gogoplex, and that led me to the Ferris, which I actually built myself. So that was the first time I'd kind of gone down this road of soldering something a little bit and using controllers and all the rest of it. But that was a 34 key layout, so I adapted my layout and made that work. And I'm going to link to all of the files for these various layouts in the description as well, so you can kind of.
I kind of want to build this. I've never really soldered anything. I have a soldering kit over there. I can see it. I think this would kind of be fun.
See that journey as time's gone on as well.
Dang it.
So after
is this what's happening to me? Am I becoming that guy? Am I becoming the guy that nobody likes? Well, if you just build your own keyboard, you can do so good that you do anything, right? Like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be fine. I'm becoming the guy.
Which is this incredible bit of software and KiCad that lets you build your own PCB for your truly custom layout just for you. And I've done a video on that, and I'll be doing more detail on that process as well, because it's absolutely amazing. I think it's what it enables you to do is fantastic. You can really build a
very beautiful
exactly
B-roll,
how
by the
you
way.
want it, and you haven't got to worry about.
This guy has a really great. I don't even know who this is. Ben Valek. Okay, Ben Affleck. I appreciate this, Ben. I'm going to subscribe to Ben. You should too. This is a very beautiful camera work. I love his single take talking. There's a lot of really great things he does in this.
Filling up blanks and stuff. If you want to go for a smaller layout, you can just build a new PCB, and it's so cheap and affordable, and it's actually not that complicated to do. So that's all very exciting.
Not that complicated to do. Then shows this image. Oh, yeah, okay, PCB. Okay, I can do that.
So as you start exploring smaller layouts, you get to a stage where you're removing so many keys that you can't have every letter key on its own key. And the first thing that you might think about doing, which is what I did, was combos for those missing keys. So you would hit two keys at a time to get the equivalent of one of the other keys that's then missing. And that's pretty awkward for flowy typing. You can't really roll. And some of those, if you're rolling over a combo, you might trigger the combo by mistake. There's lots of sort of issues around that I think would fundamentally mean you couldn't ever type very fast using combos for some letters. And I didn't really like the feel of it either. I like the idea of rolling a whole word, and hitting a combo kind of.
It's actually one of my biggest takeaways from Dvorak. One of the things I think is most just borked about Dvorak is the fact that S and L are so close to each other. Oh my goodness, why am I up there? We got S and L on Pinky. It's on Pinky, people. It's on Pinky. And by being on Pinky, that sucks. So slack. Yeah, I hate that S and L are on those keys. It really feels so terrible. Whereas like TH, that feels so good. TH, SH feels great, right? NH also feels great, just doesn't make any sense in English, right? There's not a lot of NHs, right? But I just have always hated that. I've always hated that about, oh gosh, flashbang. I've always just hated it.
Makes it stumble. And obviously, as you get to a certain stage, you run out of good combos that work for letters. So if you make a combo out of 2 common letter pairs, and you normally roll very fast over those, then it will trigger as the combo, and that's a problem. So you normally want to make combos out of letters that don't normally come.
I'm actually reconsidering. I kid you not, I'm reconsidering going back to QWERTY, but obviously sticking with this bad boy, just going back to QWERTY. Because that way, I have my programmer Dvorak layout with all the symbols, so I have all my symbols correct. But then I still have like QWERTY, and that way when I use somebody else's computer, right, I can still type like a normal human being. Okay, you know how weird it feels to know you can type above 100 words per minute and not be able to type at all
consecutively in normal typing. But I never really found that I wasn't really enjoying combos.
Do I just see pussies on my pinky? What the hell's happening in chat?
And I wanted to go a bit smaller as well anyway, so I ended up thinking of 2 layers for all of the alpha keys. So with 2 layers, it becomes possible to get really quite small. And in quite a short space of time, I'd gone down to 16 keys. I've stuck with the 16 for long enough now that I can make this video, and I've got pretty fast on it. You know, I'm up to 80 words a minute, which I think is unbelievable. And I think it has potential to be even faster too. You know, I don't think the layout's holding me at 80. I think it's just, you know, I've got to get faster with the muscle memory. I think it can go faster, and I'll be super pleased if I can get this to 100 words a minute. So in terms of the feel of the keyboard, it's incredibly gratifying to type on a keyboard where you feel you're really barely moving your fingers. There's just those occasional movements. And you know, once you start feeling the pattern of a whole word, you get this sort of idea in your mind of what's, you know, when you type fast, you get kind of almost, it feels like you're memorizing a word at each time. You know,
I'm confused why he keeps resetting things.
And that's how you end up typing really fast. You're not sort of thinking letter by letter. You're thinking of the patterns for each word, or at least the sort of chunks of letters that make up the words. And when you do that with a board this small, those patterns feel incredible. There's hardly any effort to them. And I'm really hoping that is also going to enable me to type really fast on this as well.
QWERTY has a lot of patterns that I feel like Dvorak does not have that much. I feel like Dvorak does not have that much. It doesn't feel as pattern driven. It has like small chunks of patterns. Whereas I feel like QWERTY, you had like whole word patterns often. And it just felt better. Maybe it's just because I was, you know, just such a young, you know, buck when I learned how to do QWERTY. Whereas Dvorak was in my silver fox hairs.
So let's look at all the kind of features in this layout that make it work and make it possible to be 16 keys overall. So obviously, first and foremost, we're dealing with 2 layers.
Forgot to turn off the alerts. Shut up!
The right thumb key is the key that switches to the second layer. Now, I started off using a normal sticky layer key for this, and that means that basically you can just tap it, and then the next key you hit is on the second layer, and then it goes back to the first layer. Now, the problem with that in reality is as I started typing on it faster, what I was finding I was doing was my thumb hadn't actually come off that sticky layer key by the time I would go back to hitting, say, a key from the first layer after that. So it actually trigger 2 keys from the second layer when I actually only wanted 1, and then back to the first layer because I hadn't quite got my thumb off. So obviously when you start rolling quickly, that's something that is going to happen. So I asked on the Discord group if anyone had any solutions to this. So basically what I was needing to happen was as soon as my thumb is down on that layer switch key, the next key that fires will force it back to layer 1, even if my thumb is still on it. And someone had the fantastic idea of using a macro for this, which is how that works. You know, so I put the sticky layer switch as a macro, and that basically fires immediately, and it doesn't matter if I hold that key down, it's not still going to work as a second layer switch. So that actually solved the problem. It means I can roll through to the second layer and then back to the first layer as fast and sloppy as I like with my finger hanging onto that key, and it doesn't cause any problems, which is, you know, exactly what I want. I kind of want all of the letters to behave that way, including full stop, comma, and apostrophe. So that.
Why I'm curious why I didn't just have hold for layer. You know what I mean? To me, it just seems like hold for layer would be way, 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 way easier. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I don't understand.
That's kind of my goal, that I don't have to worry about timing for any normal letter key and that basic punctuation. I can roll over those in any speed and any pattern, and I won't get any issues because of the timing or, you know, releasing.
Because then you have that whole like double press problem.
So the right thumb is that macro layer switch key, and the left thumb is just space. But if you hold it down, you get the mech key, which is fantastic for using with Keyboard Maestro on a Mac, and gives you sort of, so you hold that down, and then your key will then switch to another application. I use that as an application switcher. So basically super fast to jump between applications on the Mac with that mech key on the thumb. So obviously that holding down the thumb key.
This looks like a great program. This almost makes it look like Mac is potentially able to be used again. This is fantastic. I like that because I hate this idea that you have to like think about what program you want. You know what I mean? I hate that idea. It's one of the biggest reasons why I'll stay on. I just need a good window manager. I never want to have to think about something. I just want something to be here. If I want to code, I just want to be here. I just want to be coding. I just want to be right here. And when I'm done coding, if I want to go back to my browser, I just want to go back to my browser. I hate this idea of like thinking, where people actually, where people actually have to like scroll through stuff. Oh, good. Alt tab. You just press Alt tab. You just press Alt tab and then tab. You just press Alt tab. And then when you get into like a cycle and there's like 3 of them, you just do the double tap. Alt double tap. Alt double tap. Alt double tap. Seems shitty.
I used another layout, basically the sort of panic mode to get back to layer 1 if you use one of the toggles and you're permanently in one of the other layers. So you can hold that down and it won't output any characters. And you know when you release it, you're always back in the layer 1. If you're already in layer 1, all you've done is just push the mech key, which doesn't do anything by itself. So yeah, that's a really handy little setup for the left thumb, I find. So in the 16 key layout, I've come up with this system layer and taken that a bit further than I have in any other layout. And this is...
Yes, Pop OS's window manager is just like that. That's why I can't do it. It's why I don't use it at all.
Really, really fun, really fast, really great for working with the Mac. So with a 3-key combo, I can switch into the system layer and it stays in that layer then. So I can be mousing with one hand and I can have the right hand on the right half of the keyboard where most of this system magic happens. So I can actually be mousing with my left hand, which is good because I want to try and alternate, I'm using the trackpad, but I want to try and alternate the work between my hands a bit on the trackpad as well. So I'm starting to use the trackpad with my left hand and actually clicking with a combo on the keyboard with the right. And that really changes the feel of using a trackpad, I think. And that's a really good thing to do if you think that using the trackpad is causing kind of problems in your wrists and whatnot. This is a good way of mixing it up a little bit and changing the pattern that your wrist is used to there. So
this is like the ultimate driving towards like preventing wrist pain. That's actually, I mean, if you have to use the trackpad a bunch, this is pretty cool. I know there's some things that you just have to. Any sort of, just saying, there's some things you have to, right? Like when I'm making a box art, I have to use the old mouse, right? You can't just be using, you know what I mean? This is, I mean, I love this idea.
In the system layer on the right hand, you've then got arrow keys and a command key on your thumb. So you can do arrows and thumb, and you can also do alt with your left hand as well. You can navigate the cursor in text very quickly in this layer. Now, I've got some interesting things that happen when you hold down a finger on those arrow keys and the other keys in this layer. So copy and paste, for example, tap is a copy and then hold it down is paste. And that means you can sort of select text, copy and paste. And then you can also switch applications just with the right hand here as well. So you've got the command key, obviously, with your thumb, so hold that down. And then you can hold down the key above that with your index finger, which is tab. And that will then give you the application switcher where you can then navigate that using the arrow keys and then release the switch into it. I've actually just added a Q key for quitting those through that as well. So all that can be done with just the right hand, which is brilliant because it means you can do things like use the trackpad to select a bit of text, switch applications, copy and paste. If you're doing a sort of copy and pasting stuff from a document into a form or something, it makes that kind of workflow really, really, really good. So one of the key ways this 16...
I really like I love this idea. I'm not going to lie to you. I love this idea. This is such a cool idea. To be able to have to be able to click a mode, especially due to me using Dvorak, one of the huge problems I had with Dvorak is that to copy is this, right? Control C, right? C is over here. So it's a two-handed operation. Control V, V over here, right? So that's like a whole, and then X is over here, right? So that's kind of like this whole, it's like a two-hand requirement. Maybe I need to add something like way down here, some sort of page end where I can pop. I guess I pressed it. Maybe that's next. Okay, that is next. I didn't realize that. Anyways, you can pop that. Pop! And it will... This is disgusting. Anyways, you can pop it, and it will go into one-hand mode. I like this idea. I may have to start exploring with that idea of just one-hand mode, where I can just start Control-C, Control-C, VX, all that kind of stuff right in here. And then pop it back out. I like that idea. It's that's a really good idea. I liked that video we were watching, and now I've officially lost it, so I guess it is time. It is time to be done with this video. I didn't mean to. Thank you. Ben Valak, I appreciate that really technically deep video. Loved it. The name is the Primeagen.